welcome back to the Ben Motorcycle Adventures podcast, your hub for everything off-road, dual sport, and adventure motorcycle. My name is John. I will be your host. This is episode number 17, Ben Motorcycle Adventures podcast. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. And as always, I like to say this, thank you for subscribing to our podcast. However you choose to listen, when you hit subscribe, you'll be instantly notified when new episodes are released. And I read that stuff too. So this past week I got a positive review from a user, Jay Baker. Jay Baker, thanks for the feedback. And he mentioned that we're getting quite a little bit of echo in my audio. Appreciate that. I went back and listened a little bit closer. Some of the episodes are pretty bad, but not the ideal recording space here yet. But we're working on soundproofing some things, and I'm going to try to edit out as much of that echo as I can. But again, thank you for the feedback and the comments. I read that stuff, and we will continue to try and evolve moving forward. All right, let's talk about tonight's guest. We're going to interview a woman who, as we speak, is on an adventure. She's riding from India to Malaysia. I believe she's actually in Thailand as we speak, and at the time we recorded this podcast interview, I believe she was traveling through Thailand. So she's been there for a little bit. She's riding her Royal Enfield Himalayan, which if you're from the United States, that is not a very common bike over here, but where she's riding in around India where they're manufactured, they're actually quite common. So her name is Noraly. Her Instagram profile at Itchy Boots Travel. If you're on Instagram, you should definitely give her a follow because you can follow her adventure literally day to day as she posts some really great photos on there. She's also got a website, itchyboots.com, photos from her adventures, blog posts, things of that nature. Great website. And then I just want to plug her YouTube channel. She's up to almost 1,000 subscribers in a short period of time. And every couple of days, she puts out a new YouTube video, which is just a way to document her adventure. You get to see what she's going through and see some of the places she visits. So Noraly does a great job of utilizing her GoPro and her other camera to really tell the story day to day. So you should check her out on YouTube. Just search for Itchy Boots. And with that, guys, I think we're just going to step into the conversation, the interview. This is episode 17, Ben Motorcycle Adventures podcast. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, I'm great. I'm now in Thailand, in Chiang Mai, which is in the north of Thailand. Okay. And today I'm about to leave. In 1 hour, I will ride to another place in the mountains in Thailand. So, I'm good. I like Thailand. It's very nice to ride here.
Excellent. So I came across your Instagram profile a few days ago and was very interested, and I thank you for taking some time out of your travels to talk with us.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So my first question is, you quit your job, you sold everything, and you're traveling around from Delhi to Malaysia, correct?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what kind of sparked that idea, or what kind of drove you to this adventure?
Well, it actually came quite spontaneous in a way because I quit my job, and I sold my motorbike. I was riding a Ducati Monster before, and I did all of that because I wanted to just travel full time. And I've been traveling a lot in the past years, but always by public transport and buses and taxis and all of that. And I booked a flight to India, and I was traveling around India, and then I noticed that it's very cheap to rent motorbikes in the north of India, in the Himalayan mountains. And I thought, that's nice. I'll just rent a motorbike. And so I rented the Royal Enfield Himalayan for 3 weeks, and I was riding around there. And when I had to return the bike, I was really sad that I had to give the bike back.
Oh, that's
and
the worst.
And then I thought, yeah, it was awful. And then I had to walk again with my backpack, and I thought, no, this is not it. So let's buy a motorbike. So I went to Delhi and bought the same type, but then a new motorbike. And then I thought, what to do now? And then I thought, well, let's ride to Malaysia.
Just on a whim.
Yeah, kind of, yeah. And I have a bigger plan. I have a very good plan for after Malaysia, but I thought let's first just, try to make it there. And if everything goes well, then I have a much bigger plan for the bike. Okay. So
I'll ask you about that plan later. But one of the questions that came up for me is, how much planning and preparation went into this current ride that you're on?
Well, the most of the planning and preparation actually had to do with getting the bike out of India. That was for me the hardest part. So I actually didn't plan anything regarding route or accommodation or anything like that. I still don't do that. So it's
Wow.
a day by day thing. So in the morning I think, okay, where I'm gonna go, and there I'm gonna go. And so I don't really know any other places more than one day ahead where I'm gonna go. But to get the paperwork to ride in, because the bike is registered in India, it has an Indian license plate, and to get that across the borders, that was quite difficult. I need a lot of paperwork, so it took me a month to gather all the papers that I needed. And after that, I started riding, and yeah, I still don't do any other preparation really.
Well, that's one way to go about it. You never know what's in store around the next corner. Have you found, or have you come across any difficulty finding places to stay or fueling up along the way?
Fueling has been pretty okay, and I'm carrying 2 extra fuel cans with a total of 10 liters of extra fuel. So that hasn't been a problem so far. And yeah, only around Christmas time, New Year's, that was a bit tricky. And then it was quite hard to find accommodation. But in general, I never have any problem and always manage to find something very quickly. So yeah, I don't have very high standards. Maybe that's that's part of it. So usually if I only stay one night in a place and I move on the next day, then for me it doesn't really matter. If it has a bed and it has a Wi-Fi, then it's fine for me. So
sure, that's great. So about the Royal Enfield Himalayan, did you choose that bike just because you'd ridden one and you were comfortable with it, or is there a particular reason that you enjoy riding that bike?
Yeah, it was mostly because I rented it before and I really liked riding it. It's very easy to handle, easy to ride, and especially very good for off-road. And I mean, I love riding off-road. I think highways, they're a bit too boring for me.
Yes.
So for that reason, I thought, okay, maybe that's a good bike. And in India, Royal Enfield is very big in India. So I thought, okay, I have a lot of support here, mechanical support and all of that. So I thought, let's go for that bike. Obviously, riding it out of India, there aren't so many Royal Enfield workshops anymore. But so far, so good. So yeah, it's I really like riding this bike.
Yeah, have you had any issues with it? Or I watched one of your YouTube videos where you were taking it to a Royal Enfield shop. But aside from just some routine maintenance things, have you had any issues yet?
No. With this bike, I haven't had any issues. It does require quite a bit of maintenance. So I'm changing the oil every 3,000 kilometers. So yeah, if you're riding every day, then that's very regular that you have to do that. And I do some small maintenance things myself. But for the rest, I didn't have any problems. With the rental bike, I had big problems. But that was the 2017 model. And I believe, or what I've heard, is that they fixed quite a few of the issues in the 2018 model, and that's the one I'm riding now. So, yeah, so far I haven't had any problems, so that's very good.
So, if there were the Royal Enfield, not very common in the United States, I've seen that some of them have made their way over here, and people have done some rides on them and reviewed them. But if you could pick one thing that you love about that bike, what would it be? What really stands out on the Royal Enfield?
Well, I actually like to mention 2 things because I do think price matters in this case. It's a very affordable bike.
Okay. So
I think that is a big part that, you can get it quite cheaply and have a go at it. I think that's a very big advantage. And second, that it's so easy to handle. So it literally just get on it and you just drive away. So light and easy to handle. I think that's great for riding off-road. So yeah, I think those are the most important advantages of the bike.
Yeah, and again, back to your YouTube videos, like you said, you're not riding much pavement. I watched one episode where you were actually working through quite a bit of mud on a road. That was a tough day for you, right?
Yeah, that was a very tough day. Yeah. Yeah, I've had some pretty bad roads, and actually, that road that I described as being the worst road ever, it was actually the main road. So I wasn't even taking some small back road or anything. It was the main road through an entire state, and it was horrible. But yeah, that was very difficult because I like off road, but if it's like paved roads with potholes and mud and slippery and slidey, then it becomes quite tough, especially when you also have your luggage on it and you have some weight on the back. So yeah, there have been a few days where it has been really, really tough riding. And those days, sometimes I ride for 10 hours. So then, yeah, I'm pretty tired at the end of the day.
Very long days on the bike. I know how you feel. I did some 10 and 12-hour days on a motorcycle this past summer, and the area I was in was beautiful, but it doesn't matter what you do. That's just a long time to spend on a motorcycle.
Exactly. Yes, it definitely is. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about Myanmar because I found this interesting. You showed up there and you legally couldn't ride through the country by yourself. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. They're very strict, so there's literally no way of entering Myanmar by yourself. So you need to have permits and all of that, and you need to have a guide and a government official from, I believe they're from the tourist department or something like that, and they accompany you. So in the end, it turned out a lot better than I thought, because originally I thought that they would be riding in the car in front of me, and I literally would have to follow them through the entire country. But in the end, in the morning time, the guide would just say, okay, this is your destination for the day. So you need to reach to this hotel tonight, and good luck, have fun. So you could ride kind of independently during the daytime, and then the guide would arrange the hotel and all of that. And because it's very expensive to have this guide and this government official with you, I had to join a group. Otherwise, it would have cost literally thousands of dollars. So,
okay, that's very interesting. I thought they were riding right alongside of you. I thought that would be kind of awkward, but it sounds like it worked out pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it turned out to be much better than I actually expected at the beginning. So I really enjoyed riding there as well.
Now, I'm curious why you chose the route that you chose. Did you do that just based on the time of the year that it is? And I mean, obviously, it's pretty respectable weather where you're traveling right now. Mild or warmer climates. Is that part of the reason you're where you're at now, or is there a different reason?
Well, actually, the reason was more that I was thinking, okay, I'm in India. Where can I go? And the neighboring countries I could is Pakistan, obviously. But riding into Pakistan is difficult if you have an Indian registered motorbike, because they're not very good friends, India and Pakistan. Sure. So that kind of limited my options there. And then I'd already been in Nepal, so I was like, yeah. And then crossing the border into China was pretty difficult. And then I thought, let's drive towards Malaysia and see what's out there. So that was it, basically.
So have you made an estimation of the length of the route that you're riding right now? Do you know about how far you're going to travel on this particular adventure?
Not really. Well, I think by the time I will reach Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, I'll probably be around 10,000 kilometers, I guess. And so maybe I can talk about the next plan when I reach Kuala Lumpur, because I am now in contact with a shipping agent to ship my bike from Kuala Lumpur to Oman. Then I want to ride a little bit through the Emirates, and then you can take a boat to Iran, and then ride through the stans. So what you have, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, all those stans. And then I was thinking, maybe I can just ride the bike back to Europe. I'm from Holland. So I thought, maybe I do that. So that's my big master plan. Once I make it to Kuala Lumpur.
Sounds like you're just getting warmed up to me. There's a lot more adventure left in this one.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, except for kind of figuring out or thinking about which countries I want to ride through, I didn't do any other preparation yet. So, but I guess I can just do it on the way I've been doing it now. So, yeah.
That's amazing to me. I'm a planner. I would have to plan every single little detail, and you're going day by day. That's great.
Yeah, but I think it's good because you never know what happens on the road, and sometimes roads are closed, or suddenly an area is not open for tourists anymore, or your bike breaks down, or stuff can happen. So for me, it's good to be flexible and don't stick to any certain plan, and then that means that you can solve any problem that you encounter because there was no plan in the first place. So
Yeah, nothing to be worried about. That's an interesting perspective for sure.
yeah.
So I commented on maybe it was one or two podcasts ago about this documentary I watched. It was called The Ride, and it was about this group of people who rode from London to Beijing. And one of the things I thought was I would really struggle with the food. Being from the States, I'm obviously accustomed to a particular type of food. But how has the food treated you so far on this adventure?
Well, I've been pretty sick regularly, but and sometimes I really crave Western food.
Mm-hmm.
I always love diving into local cuisine and trying new things, but sometimes you just really want a burger, I would say. But yeah, I'm now in Thailand, so you can literally get anything you want in Thailand. So food-wise, I'm pretty happy here, and yeah, I never really have problems in finding good food in general. But there have been some very weird ingredients on my plate on this trip.
Could you name a few? Do you know what they were?
Sometimes I didn't know what they were, or they were some kind of organs.
Oh.
But from some type of animal. Recently, I actually I ordered something. I didn't know what it was. I just pointed at something at the menu, and then I got chicken feet in some sort of soup. Yeah, that was quite interesting, and I wanted to try it, but I couldn't. I just the look of it, because they looked like chicken feet.
That would be tough. Yeah, that would be tough for me. I would think. Yeah, if we didn't have that look and I didn't know, that might be different for me. But that's interesting. Like I said on that that particular documentary, the guys were sick often. I don't know if it has to do with food prep or I'm just not savvy enough in terms of world travel. But it was interesting, and I thought that would probably be one of the toughest things for me.
Yeah. I mean, getting sick, obviously, that's never nice, and especially. If I travel by myself, I ride solo, and if you're in a small town somewhere and you don't speak the language and you don't know anybody and you're sick, yeah, that's not very great. But I always get better. So I know, sit it out, and usually the next day I'll feel better, and then I just go ride again. And yeah, as long as I'm fit enough to ride my bike, then for me everything is okay.
Sure, and that brings up something I wanted to ask you. You're obviously you're kind of traveling through some very diverse regions. What's it like to experience these different cultures on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's interesting. It can sometimes, especially when you cross a border from one country to the next, it can be incredibly interesting to see how huge the difference can be between one country and the next. Not only the people, the language, the roads, the customs, and yeah, sometimes when you travel fast, you're just used to one country, and then you cross a border and you're like, oh, again, everything is completely different. But in general, I usually find that most people are incredibly happy to see you. Especially if you travel in more remote regions where people don't see foreigners, or they don't see motorbikes, or they don't see foreigners on motorbikes. I've had incredible experiences where people come up to you and they want to talk to you, even if they don't speak any English and we cannot really communicate. That some people try so hard to get to know where you're from and why you're visiting their country and visiting their region. And yeah, to me, that's incredible. I really love that about traveling, and especially traveling by motorbike gives me so many more of these experiences than traveling by bus or public transport, because by motorbike I can get to so many more remote regions and places where otherwise I would have never been. So that is really good for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. Not speaking native languages, not speaking native languages where you're traveling. Has that created any problems, or have you been able to kind of work things out along the way?
Yeah, I've always managed to work things out. Sometimes, if I couldn't speak with people, then they would search their entire village for somebody who could speak some English, or hands and feet and pointing. And yeah, in the end, I realized that it doesn't matter so much if you don't speak the language. Like most problems, you can solve. And yeah, you'll always find a way to be able to speak to each other.
Okay. So I was reading on your website, one of your blogs, it was titled Traveling Northern India Like a Boss. And, which I love the title, right? I love the statement. But I think there was a bit of undertone there. You were encouraging people to get out and adventure. And my question to you would be, what would you say to those that were a little bit apprehensive about an adventure like this, or those that haven't been on an adventure like this?
Yeah, I think you're right about the undertone. I think that came mainly because when I started that adventure, so then I was riding that rental motorbike at the time, that so many people told me that I couldn't do that by myself. So many people said, but you cannot do that by yourself, and what are you gonna do when the bike breaks down or something happens?
Yeah.
Too dangerous, yeah, exactly. Or they said you're crazy, or something like that. And I thought, well, why not? Why can't I do it? And I did it. And I think what I would like to say to people, because I did meet other riders there who came from all over the world, but they were all coming in groups and organized tours and all of that. And I mean, I did it by myself. I also had no planning. I bought a roadmap and just took off. And so, yeah, my message is that you can do it. You can do it by yourself. Obviously, you can also go with a group. But if you're thinking, I want to do it by myself, my message is, if I can do it, so can you. So go for it.
Go for it. That's great. Now, I'm an advocate for solo travel too. What do you think is so special about being out there by yourself?
I think the best thing is that if you're traveling by yourself, then you will meet so many more new people. Because if you're with a group, then usually locals, they will leave you alone because you're with a group. But if you're by yourself, you're much more approachable. I don't know if that's a word.
That's the word.
Yeah. So for me, that is great, and you can really get to know local people. You meet a lot of other travelers, and yeah, and also you can decide whatever you want every day to do whatever you want, and yeah.
Yeah, you don't have to have a plan. You just go point to point wherever the next stop is, right?
Exactly, no compromises, and yeah, do whatever you feel like. So I think that's why I really like solo travel. Yeah.
Great, doing it on your own terms. I want to talk about your YouTube channel a little bit because I've watched all your videos now. You've got some really great videos, and I was actually watching some with a friend here, and he was curious what you're using to record your footage. Is it a GoPro or is it something else?
Yeah, I have a GoPro which I can mount on my helmet and on my bike, and then I also have a normal camera which I use to record the intro talk where I say I'm gonna ride there and there today.
Sure.
That's a Canon 60D. But for my riding, I record with a GoPro 7. So it's the newest GoPro out there.
The latest and greatest. The video quality looks really good. We were impressed. That's why we went ahead and asked you. That's kind of what we assumed. But excellent job on the videos. It looks like you're building up a nice subscriber base there, and as you continue to continue here with the travels, I'm sure that's gonna continue to grow. Are you getting emails, comments on your video, anything like that? People encouraging you or asking you questions along the way?
Yeah, a lot actually, and I really like that because I have a couple of people following me on YouTube, which are really involved, and they leave a comment on every video, and actually it's great. It's great because. To be honest, before I've traveled for years to all sorts of places, and I never wrote about it. I never made videos about it because I was always thinking, who is going to be interested in what I'm doing? I don't know. And then now I thought I'm just going to start and try and make a video. And then it's so great if you get responses of people saying, oh, I love your video and it's great. And I thought, oh okay. Well, I'll just make another one then. So
just keep going. It's very rewarding. Like I said, the videos are great. It's a great to watch, and then you it's just set up kind of on a daily basis. So we're following your progression along the way. It's really amazing.
Yeah, I actually really like doing it for myself too, because you're right, I make a video of every day that I ride to a new place. And for me, just going back through the footage and creating the video already brings back memories just for myself. Because when you travel fast, then you see so many things every single day and everything is new that you also forget easily. But just creating the videos is for me already a great memory that I'm thinking, oh yeah, and I was riding there, and then there were the cows on the road, and and then this happened. So it's really great.
I caught that video where the cow was in your way too. That thing would not budge for anything.
That that was obviously in India. There are a lot of cows on the road, and they also walk in alleys in big cities, and that was pretty difficult because they are quite big if you're standing next to them. So I've had some cow challenges on the way.
Definitely, the cows don't seem to be as stubborn over here in the United States. So if you ever make it this way, you won't have those problems.
Oh, that's good to know.
But good point about documenting your ride. I kind of asked myself this question the other day because I'll take a camera with me, a drone, a GoPro, and I'm wondering if I'm detracting from my adventure because I like to travel fast. But then I get to go back and reflect on it and see some of these photos. Some of them aren't great. Maybe they're even just stupid, silly little photos. But it takes you back, and you get a chance to kind of reminisce or enjoy a bit of nostalgia about that particular moment in time. So I'm going to continue to document the things I do too. It's great to reflect on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, definitely keep on doing that.
Gotta ask, what so far on this trip? What's the favorite place that you've stopped off?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my favorite place was Sikkim, which is in the north of India. It's a state in India. And that was really awesome riding off-road mountains. Because in the end, even though I just love riding, it doesn't really matter where I ride. But if I can ride in mountains, that's when I'm the most happy. And I think riding in those mountains was really, really great.
Really fulfilling. Okay.
Yeah.
You've already got the next adventure lined up. I'm curious, if you could do it all again, would you stick with the Royal Enfield? Is that your bike of choice moving forward always?
Well, I think sorry.
No, there was one particular video when you were on a different bike, and it seemed like you kind of fell in love with that one.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I was just sitting on a Suzuki V-Strom, 1000cc, and it is way too heavy for me. I don't think it would. Yeah, I could really ride it, but just sitting on it, it felt really great. I was like, wow, this is a motorbike. I mean, I love having power. The Royal Enfield Himalayan only has 411cc. And coming from a Ducati Monster 800, I miss power still. Sure. So, and even though usually where I ride, you cannot really ride fast anyway. So you don't need the power. But, just for moments when you're overtaking or when you just want that little bit of throttle and just speed, I miss some power. But I think for now, for the adventure that I have in my mind, I think this is a very nice bike to do it. And I would love to try another bike for a big adventure just to get more experience in different bikes. But I think for now, this is a very nice bike to start a big adventure. And I think when I've done, 30,000 kilometers, then maybe I would like to try another bike. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this one.
Is there anybody helping you out along the way, sponsoring you or, providing equipment or anything like that?
Not yet, but it may be happening. I got a message from a bike shop in Bangkok, where I will reach probably in 1 week time or something. And they want to give me some custom-made prototype parts for my bike.
Okay.
They're mostly protective parts. So, yeah, I was really surprised when I got the message that they said, wow, we want to give you this, and they're still prototype, but this and that. So, that will be the first, if it all happens, then that will be the first time that I get something for my bike. So
Sure. Some support. It always helps, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, maybe something will happen in the future, but at this moment, I'm not being sponsored or anything.
Okay. I don't want to keep you too long. I know you got to hit the road. You want to kind of walk us through how we can follow your adventures on your website and YouTube and social media?
Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel that's called Itchy Boots, and my website is called www.itchyboots.com. And I am also on Instagram and I'm also on Facebook, but you can find those socials on my website as well. Okay. So either the YouTube channel or the website, and you'll find all the other socials.
Okay, we'll turn this into a blog post on my site, and we'll provide hyperlinks to all your social media channels and YouTube and your website too, so people can find you.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no problem. So have a safe trip. Obviously we can follow you on YouTube, but keep us up to date on where you're at and how things are going, and we're all very interested in following your journey. So best of luck, and I appreciate you taking time out of your travels to speak with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the podcast, and let's stay in touch. We will definitely stay in touch, Noraly, and thank you for giving up some of your day, some of your travel time, through Thailand today to speak with us on the podcast. Really grateful. And again, I want to plug her YouTube channel, guys. Some awesome videos. It's updated frequently, and you can really get a taste for what the adventure she's going through is really like. So make sure you check that out at Itchy Boots Travel on Instagram. Again, a great profile to follow. That is, if you love to look at amazing photos, and I don't know why else you would even be on Instagram if that's not what you were after. So great profile on Instagram too, and itchyboots.com. That's her website. That's her blog. You should go there and check that out too. BenMotorcycleAdventures.com. That is our website. Make sure you check it out. Off-road, dual sport, adventure motorcycle tours all over the West Coast. That's our thing. That's our specialty. There's also a lot of written content, blog posts that pertain to motorcycle adventure, motorcycle travel, things of that nature. And also, I host all of our podcast episodes on there. So if you need to catch up, maybe you don't use iTunes or whatever the case may be, you can listen to any episodes of our podcast on BenMotorcycleAdventures.com. So make sure you take a look at the website. Okay, next episode of the podcast is a good one. We're going to talk to our friend Tracy, and we're going to flip things around on you a little bit. Now, we normally talk to people who have recently returned from their motorcycle adventure, or they're, recalling or recapping an adventure from the past, or, like on this particular episode with Noraly, she's actually missed her adventure. Now with Tracy is actually planning her around the world motorcycle adventure as we speak. So we're going to talk to her about the planning process and what ultimately drove her desire to get out there and embark on an adventure like this. So really great episode of the podcast. We're looking forward to talking to Tracy a lot in the future, and I don't think you guys will be disappointed. So we will catch up with you Monday on that episode of the podcast. Again, I thank you for listening. Episode number 17. We'll catch you next time. See ya.